All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here with us tonight. This is our Future Ready Co-op Summer Tech Series. This is the third session in a three-part series, and really excited to be here tonight with the folks from Digico Global and from Novaworks Cooperation. They're going to be leading this evening. We've been co-leading the whole session, the whole series. They have really led the last two sessions of this series. And now here we get to the one that's really going to be a roundtable discussion. We're going to kind of do this together, and we just want to let people know that this is a jump off from a series that we did, or from a couple of sessions that Novaworks and Digico did for us during the FCI Live 2026 series. And that is a virtual series, 2025 different sessions on different topics. And they agreed. I asked them pretty much at the last minute to do some topics on technology and different aspects of technology. And the response to that was pretty electric. People were very excited and said, wow, we've been looking for a place to have these conversations. And so we reached out to Novaworks and Digico and said, hey, like, let's imagine some way we can continue this convo. This isn't a convo that necessarily FCI usually leads. It was not focused on just startups' needs. It's focused on really the food co-op movement and technology. It's a little broader. So it was kind of an experiment for us, and they just graciously said, yes, we will step in and help with that because there's so much demand and interest. So we're really grateful to them for being here and being part of the series with us tonight. We are, that arrow's not supposed to be there. We are, oh yeah, that is. We are, this, like I said, this is the third in this series. If you have registered for any of the sessions from this series of three over the summer, we will be sending out a link to the video recordings of all three sessions to you at the end of tomorrow. So, and these will be available, if you're watching this later, these are all available on YouTube at the point that you're watching this recording. So, and all of them are on FCI Live's YouTube page. All right. So this one's going to be different. As I said, we're going to have a different kind of conversation. We have been relying on the expertise of our colleagues at Digico and at Novaworks to talk to us about what's going on in technology and business, especially around food co-ops. And we had a panel of people talking about their experiences that they also led off for us during this series. This one's really different. I love the idea for this one. Ahzjah from Digico said, we would really like the last one to be a roundtable, to really hear back from food co-op operational leaders, GMs, CEOs, department managers, about what they're seeing, what they're experiencing connected to tech, and what they need. And that would be the kind of the wrap up of this series and possibly the jump off for a larger conversation. So I thought that was a phenomenal, really innovative idea. So that is what we're doing tonight. We're going to co-lead it together. And we have four topics we're going to kind of go into tonight. I'm going to take this down in a second because I want everyone to introduce themselves. And this is really going to be a face-to-face kind of conversation. We're going to talk about digital security in your co-op. Again, we want to hear from you. Tech to strengthen systems, how we can use tech or where we're hoping we can use tech to strengthen our systems inside our stores. Tech investment wins. What has been going right in investing in technology in your co-ops and why? And then last but not least, the one that a lot of people really asked for, especially, is talking about digital culture and setting digital policy. And we don't have the answers to everything. We don't expect you to either. This is really going to be a conversation for us to learn more from you. So with that, I'm going to ask our team from Digico and from Novaworks to introduce themselves. Oh, can you tell? Me and tripping over words. It's been a long day.
No, you
Can
did.
you introduce yourself and your organization?
Sure, sure. So, hi, everybody. I'm Ahzjah Simons, founder of Digico Global Business Solutions and Co-op Cosmos. And my current work is focusing on helping cooperatives and mission-driven organizations really think about technology and the digital landscape and how to on-ramp and build and things of that nature. And think about it as interconnected organizational ecosystems versus just a collection of tools. What next tool is next, right? And so it's been about 4 years since I departed from being a GM, and a lot has happened and changed. And I'm really, really interested to hear what your world is like now, especially with this exciting time, the digital landscape. So that's me right now. I'm also working in women's empowerment. I'm co-director for Georgia Cooperative Development Center, and media still in my bones, but working at the intersection of all of it now and having a ball. So thanks for having me, y'all. Really great to be glad to be here. Thanks so much for showing up for this. Turn it over to partners. Novaworks.
Hi. Hey, y'all. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us. My name is Johnny Chirse, CEO of Novaworks Corporation. We build infrastructure and then we secure the data that goes into the infrastructure. We help cooperatives, especially think outside the box about, their systems, how they work, how they collaborate within their organization. We create better experiences and we kind of help you build that foundation. We become as Novaworks, your foundational team to make sure that you understand what you have, and what you're spending on it and how the impact comes towards your organization over time. So we're very excited to be here, and I'll pass it on to Mr. Rickie Bailey.
Yes, yes. And I am Rickie Bailey, the Chief Operations Officer for Novaworks Corporation. So, my main goal is to, help you guys really with the flow of, your operations when it comes to your project management systems, CRMs, et cetera, et cetera. And so, if you guys have any questions in regard to, how your co-op can really utilize at maximum capacity, your programs or your systems, whatever the case may be. I'll be here to, guide you along on that process. So super excited. I know some of you guys have seen me on a couple of these panels, so definitely and extremely grateful to just be a part of this whole process. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Rickie. So, our main goal tonight, like we said, is to hear from you. And I'm just going to frame a little bit the conversation we've been having so far. So, we said tech and food co-ops. The series touched on tech infrastructure at food co-ops. We've touched on digital security at food co-ops, digital culture, policies, and agreements. We've touched on AI readiness, and we've touched on cooperative values and in relationship to how our co-op addresses our tech needs now and into the future. And so all of that has been touched on somewhere in this series and also in those FCI live sessions we mentioned. We now want to hear from you about these areas, as I said. So I'm gonna kick us off with the first question that we really is posed to you. We want you guys, yes, you can throw answers in the chat, but also feel free to throw up the little hand gesture thing on Zoom as well if you want to unmute and talk. We would love that because we really want to hear from you. So the first topic, like I said, I'm going to lead off the question, but Novaworks is really going to be doing a lot of the answering. So, but here's the question, which is, we talked repeatedly in the series about digital security and how it's the foundation we actually need to build our cooperatives tech's future off of. And that was something that Johnny and Rickie shared that people really like that you felt that energy go up in the room. They're like, oh God, yeah, like you can't be planning all of this stuff. As Johnny and Rickie were saying, you can't be planning all of these solutions when the basic security, the basic system is not safe. And so we saw that electricity in the room, a little bit of conversation. We want to ask you to think for a minute about your co-op and tech security. Whoa, how are you feeling about your co-op's, your understanding of your co-op's level of tech security? What questions, gaps, needs come to mind, or the things that keep you up at night when you think about tech security and your food co-op? And we're going to turn that question over to our attendees and see if anyone has anything to share with us when we say tech security and your food co-op to you guys. Now, if you make me, I know some of these gyms in the room and I will call on you. I'm just warning you. Okay. We got one person in the chat. Matthew said he feels pretty good. He says systems that are mission critical typically are either standalone or sandboxed. Oh, he's already using terms that I don't understand. Does everyone on this call know what he meant by that? Like Johnny, when he says those things, does that like do your heart good?
No, because my question would be, do you have a cybersecurity team in place with the knowledge that knows what to look for in your architecture? And that's what most people think, that IT is cyber, and it's not. It's two different, they're two different teams. An IT team standalone is just a team that builds infrastructure, maybe a server. It may set up your computers and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to do an investigation on how you got that virus or what's really making your computer slow down, it's about it's about the investigation, the actual answers that you get from the investigation. So I guess my question would be too, in addition, is do you guys have a team that knows what they're doing to have you understand your security stack?
Mm.
And are you secure? Or do you really know if you're secure? That's a good question, I guess, to ask.
Well, people mull that. Tyler's got his hand up, and Tyler, if you can introduce yourself briefly, because some folks here won't know you, who are, and then your thoughts on your food co-op and security.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, JQ. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name's Tyler. I'm the former GM at Pittsburgh East End Food Co-op in Pittsburgh, PA. Soon to be at the incoming store manager at the Flatbush Food Co-op in Brooklyn, starting next week. So right now I'm just hanging out on this call. So thanks for having me. But these are great questions to ask, and I think that my former co-op, we don't have many digital policies with regards to things like AI or, social media policy is like very rudimentary, made like probably 10 years ago on the fly. I felt very strong about our co-op's tech security because we have and still do an incredible IT manager who's also the POS manager, and worked with an outside party to build a very secure server basically for all of our most critical processes and functions and historical documents for co-ops. But like all co-ops, we do lack continuity, and people are like, where does this live? Or where does that live? So like a basic organizational structure, I think all co-ops could probably benefit from. Here's best practices for where to store what and how. But from my tech perspective, and I would consider myself a dinosaur with technology and digital culture, period. But our biggest challenges were like power outages in Pittsburgh. The store goes down, we can't sell anything, and we're losing product, we're losing sales. And UNFI's cyber attack last year, where I couldn't get groceries for a week. And so I don't even know, like the biggest, and again, maybe we're just super fortunate, East End Food Co-op is a small potato that doesn't get hacked, knock on wood. I'm sorry if I jinx them somehow. But it's like those bigger, more nationwide or power grid related systems are the things that keep me up at night. Like we had catastrophic power outages multiple times just in the last few years. So that's kind of where my mind goes.
Yeah, and then that goes into, and I'm gonna add to that. Thank you for that. That was really good because most people don't plan for an outage. There's an assessment that you do. It's called cyber resilient assessment. So that if there is an outage, you know how much time you have on a grid, with power, and you know what to do. Your team can come in and cut over data and make things available for you, in that situation, that operational situation. But that's something that you would plan for. And so doing an assessment at every year to see, okay, am I ready for an outage? In your case would be good, a good thing. Or anyone's case actually here would be a good thing. Or any type of incident with weather, stuff like that.
We got to comment back to something that Matthew shared. You responded to some of Matthew's comments, Johnny, and I think this is when you said you need a team. I know I'm from the background of a small to small medium food co-op, and I know my gut clenched. I'm like, team, oh my God, our staff's this big. So since we're unfortunately too small to have a full team, I do have some security outside scanning our system. We would need to pull in outside external contractors. Just kind of like how and at least there seems like Matthew, you have some thoughts on how you handle this, even as a small food co-op. But I think that, what do you mean by team? Like, what if you're a tiny staff, you don't have that wonderful internal IT person that Tyler was talking about, or just any thoughts on that for our smaller co-ops?
Definitely. We serve a lot of smaller organizations, believe it or not. We have larger clinics that are cooperative in a sense. We have all kinds of organizations that we serve, but we actually serve some smaller ones with like 4 people on the team. And that was their worry too. But what we were able to do is with this assessment, figure out what we could do, that would help their foundation. And we were able to, they were able to afford a budget and afford Novaworks to come in as their team when needed, you know. And we've saved a lot of WordPress instances. They were brute force attacked for almost 7 months before we even got there. Uh, and that could have been catastrophic because it was going after their CRM. So, and that's just a little bit of example of, and that's a website, but you guys have operations in place. So Veronica asks, what should the bare bones be for setting up cybersecurity for membership information and online payment systems? So first of all, you definitely have to have an architecture map showing, all your services and what you offer and where things, data flows. And once you find out where the data flows, then you can apply security mechanisms in place that will check constantly for issues or alert. It will provide alerts for, say, for example, with online payments, malicious transactions or missing payments. And also your gateways also have a level of security as well. So you have a lot of, Stripe and all these other guys, they have security in place, but what we do is we catch from IP addresses the malicious IPs, and we have a team that analyzes it 24/7. And also we use a strategy on auto blocking traffic to your systems. Okay. So that, that traffic may be a bot or something like that. We can analyze that, and applying those type of systems, smart systems to your systems helps with traffic flow.
Awesome. And I feel like people are just warming up on this topic. Please keep throwing things in the chat. If you have thoughts, comments, or questions on technology and security, we want to hear it. But I want to make sure we have time for all 4 topics we promised we were going to cover today. And I'm going to hand it over to Ahzjah, who is a systems thinker extraordinaire, to talk to us about a different aspect of tech in our co-ops. Ahzjah.
Yeah, thank you. As I was listening to Johnny and Tyler and others, there was another question I kind of wanted folks to think about as we move into this next piece. And it was really because I'm working more on the strategy side and the creative side, oftentimes creating LMSs, learning management systems, and CRMs, as Johnny mentioned, customer relations management systems, and building platforms for smaller organizations. I was just so excited to create those things and strategize around those things, especially coming from member services, marketing backgrounds. And it was really working with Johnny and Rickie that I could say, okay, well, we also need to secure those things, right? So, and oftentimes we just build them or do the third party, hire the third party group, build the thing, and then we're still not securing them. So I was curious how many of the general managers on the call are actually integrating CRMs at this point, or integrating learning management systems of their own, or considering building, if that's something that they could think about as we move to the next topic. Okay, so again, technology challenges are often really aren't about the technology itself. They show up as duplicated work, lost time, communication gap, bottlenecks, and the lack of those systems. And so I'm wondering, where are the manual or non-integrated, disconnected, or outdated systems taking more time and energy than they should in your cooperatives at this point? And if you could strengthen one organizational capability, what would make the greatest difference right now? And then maybe in the future. I'll think about that for a minute. And if it's not just what you're thinking about, maybe concerns that have come to you from your staff or department heads or other areas that you think would strengthen organizational capability and make the most difference right now or in the future.
Well, others think,
Anybody?
I would say I could throw out there as a GM. I would have immediately said it over and over again, standardizing and somehow mechanizing our training systems would have made a huge difference for us as a
Mhm.
small to medium co-op. I don't know if
Mhm.
others, I saw one head nod and like that was like, yes. Tyler? Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to spend the whole time talking because I could. But I will say, I agree, JQ, with your perspective there. That was something we always kind of struggled with, maintaining a good system for those. But high on my mind right now, having just gone through this, is like succession planning and then continuity of, you hand off projects to an interim team that's taking over for a departing GM. There can be way too many things that live in individual people's heads or their desk or their desktop. And so, trying to have a great system in place for how people act. I had 4 weeks to pass off everything to my team. That's not enough time, but realistically, that was still kind of great compared to what we've had in the past. So, yeah, like roadmaps to important key documents or important key project milestones. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would say, well, so I'm Sam McCormick, and pronouns are he, him, they, them, GM at Ahzjah Co-op in Maynard, Mass, just outside of Boston. Um, I think there's not like one thing. I think the thing I think especially for smaller co-ops is that there's not one thing. Like it's often like I think that's why maybe a lot of people would struggle to answer this question. I'd say the thing, if we wanted to name a thing, is more of a meta thing. It's the systems and infrastructure that a lot of small co-ops struggle with because they often require, like was referenced earlier, they require resources that often aren't available, either internally or externally, because you're still talking about a budget line item that often doesn't occur. We're in the position where we have the benefit of having a new store. We had the opportunity. This is the only time I've had the opportunity to set up some of these pieces, both digital and physical technology structures, without somebody else having already done a very like weird system that I had to pull apart. So in that way, I feel like we never want to say it too loud because we are a little superstitious. But in that way, we did have the benefit of being able to set up our systems in a way that feels structurally more sound, right? But I think the piece that ties through a lot of stuff as I'm getting my team to grow, referencing like Tyler's stuff around process and documentation around retention and or like future planning for leadership roles for training like JQ they're all systems things. So it's that the thing that I've encountered the most within the co-op space is the lack of integration of normative systems into the co-op work, right?
Mm.
And so for me, that it feels like actually an easier leap. I'm like, well, they exist. Here we go. Thunk. We're gonna just fill them out. Here we go. Right. But I would say that that is kind of a larger, like zoomed out view that that piece is the issue, is the time it takes to set up the templates, the time it takes to fill them out, the assigning people to them, the identifying the internal and external structures that could support them, all of that stuff, right? I think that is from my perspective, that is the piece. Because everyone wants to do it. We're like, it will be so beneficial. And then it's like the time, the resource, the money, those are the pieces. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
And I think Patty's got a comment here too. We do people here. This is aimed mostly at open store managers and operational managers. But Patty had a really good question from the startup perspective, or a small food co-op perspective. If you're interested in using systems and security and technology, it's like where do you even just the whole we're interested in using those things, but where do I bloody even start that conversation if we're like we haven't even opened a store yet, or we're so tiny that nothing has ever existed. And I think it goes to your systems question, Ahzjah, actually, because it's kind of again like we get the question all the time SCI from startups, and we don't have a cookie cutter starter point. Like, here's the data you should be collecting. Here's how to keep it safe, even though you don't have a store yet. It's just again and again, whether it's pre-open or post-open, system answers that people can know so they know where to start. And Patty, if
Mhm.
you want, you don't have to. You want to unmute and talk about that, but I think you're talking about the challenge of where to start, if I've got that right.
Yes, I mean, Colby is on. He's our lead guy. He might want to talk about it more, but specifically, we're we're working on opening up a small food co-op on our island, and just I'm trying to research technology, and I'm hearing different people use different things for point of sales, for example. And then how do you connect that with the other needs, maybe your financial systems, right? Or time systems or other systems that might be used in a food co-op. Colby, do you want to add anything to what I've said?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed them. Critical though is we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's something that's really working for a team of 6 to 8 people, um, we would love to benchmark against those systems. And if, as was just highlighted, some of the critical things are having the opportunity to build the system in the right way and having critical training systems so that we have a succession plan for a GM or for other cooperative members that will come and go. If those are the top things, then like what's working, and can we jump on that bandwagon as opposed to right now, which is we're looking at Catapult and POS Plus and Odoo and all the open source options, and we have little like a small island IT team, and are those the pathways that we should be pursuing, or is there a proven this generally works for a small co-op, and we would love to know that information if it exists.
If we're talking CRM, I'm just going to say, ex-GM folks, we would love, everyone will have an answer for you on this, by the way. If you guys want to talk, if you guys want to give them an answer, please put your email in the chat. But I would ask, I want to connect you to Chris at FCI if you guys have talked with him. But we do actually have some recommendations, depending on sales volume size expected at open. Not here's exactly what to do, but a strong recommendations that work really well for startups for the CRM piece.
Some best practices is what we're looking for. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. And that's a great starting point. And I would love to know if there's, anyone here in that kind of size range. I would love to have a communication, some kind of connection. So yeah, if you're willing to share your email, it would be awesome to be able to share and learn from you. So I see Matthew's response here, Catapult being about 10,000 per lane. Yeah. That's a good budget figure. So we need to figure out if that's, in scope for us, right? And it's one of those things where you can't have your cake and eat it too. So, if it's a budget item, it's a budget item, and that's a helpful start. And for whatever reason, we've tried to reach out to Catapult and have had a hard time even contacting them. So
we can definitely give you a hand there. And you guys, I'm warning you, they're giving me ideas. I'm like, we should just ask GMs to come and like say, here's the startup question we get all the time, and let them loose on you all.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up Ahzjah, something you were talking about systems that I think the Dr. Angela said that I thought was worth bringing up. She says there's no ERP for co-ops. And I'm going to say, admit, I did not know what the heck that was. I went and looked it up while y'all were talking.
Yes.
Dr. Angela, do you want to talk for a second about that?
Sure. I'm looking a mess. Greetings. So I guess our techies probably do know what an ERP is. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning System.
Yeah.
And many corporations have it, where it's really like one foundational software with different modules. And the modules have the ability to interface with one another. The data can flow through seamlessly. And for co-ops, you got to maintain member information, you got to maintain customer information, you need your accounting and bookkeeping, all the different inventory, so all the different functional areas of a business may be contained in a certain module. And then the modules kind of can seamlessly move the data. But that does exist, like for the bigger companies like SAP, Oracle, stuff like that. But we don't have that type of apparatus for co-ops. So if you all develop it, you would probably be rich overnight.
Well,
Okay.
we're already building.
Developing.
So
Yeah,
we
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
we
here's
already have
someone.
that
There it is.
capability.
Somebody's like, I'm on it.
so we
That's
specialize in
good.
building. We have over 80 systems
Mhm.
that replicate all the systems that people use today. Gmail, Microsoft Workspace, because we have a no trust policy at Novaworks. We don't trust any system. So what we've started to do is build our own system for co-ops, and it's called Ontel EMS. And it's an enterprise management system that does all the things that you're just talking about. We do currently integrate some of the payment gateways into it, just in case a person does not want to integrate payments uh, internally, because that's more liability for your organization. But yeah, we are working on that, and we're working as we do protect data. The security is also integrated, so we are working on that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
And
And
That's
so
again,
by
it's
and so
it's
by
not.
by working on that, does that mean there's a system that we would be able to utilize sooner than later, or is that something that is in work?
Well,
Yes.
we have clients on like for example,
Okay.
project.
Okay. It's
We
live.
have,
It's live.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
live. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
we have several systems that are live today. We use it ourselves.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
and really that's why this roundtable is important, because we're getting to know what you guys need in a lump. So some people want all-in-ones, some people prefer standalones for certain things. So especially when it comes to legal and HR, and some people don't want to get into payments, because we just had another co-op that said, no, we'll give it to Stripe. Let them worry about that, But yeah, we're very excited to build customized systems for you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
a
and I
bunch
was
of
just
people.
about to say, you
Okay,
don't
go
have
ahead.
to be again, we're not focused on the big, name co-ops. This is literally for small to mid-size, so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about an ERP or EMS system.
I I would say that it's exciting to hear that you're building systems that I think there's a couple things that come up for me when we talk about this. So I've been in the experience space of being in a different co-op that had a like kind of a no trust, like had a different system that was built. The biggest issue with that was the maintenance of it. And if people branch off from the original core coding that's developed and can't accept patches, it becomes a big security risk. And so I see the benefit of it, and I also have seen it not well maintained. So I think that that's just something to consider. One of the other pieces I think that I don't know, one of the things I think about is that there's not, at least from my perspective, it's not always the need to have an ERP, because that to me actually is like if the system goes down, the system goes down and we're shut down, right? And
Mhm.
so I actually don't like that. What I do like is high system compatibility and integration. And
Mhm.
so if you're also, it sounds like you probably have already been doing this, is like there are also ways to develop those APIs and other things that allows the systems to talk together, right? And I'm a bigger fan of that, where you could have maybe you do have a custom piece that we like. That's awesome. And we could diverge then from some corporation that we don't like. So there could be kind of a plug and play to that. And I think that to me is more exciting because I will say from my perspective that it's way higher risk for a small to medium sized store to get into anything financial that is risk with like I say run from that. Do not do that. Don't take on that liability. All payments should be external to your store. You should not take on any, right? So, because that's just from my perspective, is one of the quickest ways that you can run out of money overnight is if you have one payment that goes through your system that you are taking responsibility for processing. and you start to get pinged on that, the cost that ticks up immediately is just astronomical. If you ever got sued for anything around payment processing, that's one of the areas that I stay the furthest from. And so that's where I like the approach of somebody else taking on the liability for our small co-op to host data, to hold information, to process payments, to do all of that. And then what we want control over is how they talk to each other and what are our redundancy systems? Do you have a great backup system? I'd love to hear about that. Like, do you have a great, so I think, and that, again, this is from my perspective, but around the whole, like, do we have staff for this? I'm one of the two staff at our store who thinks about this stuff. So, that's kind of the piece that I think about a lot is like, can they talk to each other? Can they do it? I worry a lot about a system kind of getting derailed and coded into a corner and then doesn't talk to the original like that's with those like those the other structured system that's a larger concern. But I love the work that you all are doing. It's great to hear about all the things that you're
Yeah,
building.
we have cyber security researchers that look at good systems to integrate with as of today. So we changed that list quite a bit. And when we find good systems, we use them because a lot you can't recreate the wheel or change everything today, right? What we are building is data centers, not like others that are focused on AI and making money off AI. We're building data centers that where you can own your own data, in your own workspace, really own it, not where they got you. Like they got all your data, they own everything. So with that being said, we do ask those two questions in the beginning of our assessment. Are you interested in using integration tools, API, or are you interested in a custom build, something different, because your function is different, So those are the things that we do ask.
I'm gonna keep us moving because I knew this was gonna happen once we warmed up, but we're a little behind schedule. We got two more big topic areas. Novaworks, you guys had a great question about technology and investment you wanted to bring to the GMs. You guys want to lead that off?
Yeah, I'll let Rickie go.
Yeah, definitely. And again, when it comes to um, technology investment, this is where a lot of the co-ops kind of fall short. So, um, thinking about you guys as co-ops, where or what technology has fallen short of expectations, and what do you think made it different? So really think about, the technology that you guys are currently utilizing. What are you, kind of wanting to scrap, and then what systems or that you're using now, or system that you're wanting to use, that you're kind of thinking about what are those systems and what do you think has made a difference for your business?
I mean, don't all tell us about your successes all at once. What technology investments have you guys made that have actually paid off, that have felt like they ended up being good investments? Yeah, go ahead, Tyler. Kick us off.
I don't want to say none because that's not accurate. But when I think about these things and the general concepts, my co-op wasn't that small, not small like in the NCG definition, tiered things. We were a large co-op, but we're still one store of, an 8-person management team, 60 some employees. And every few years there's a new recipe software program you can buy. And then we spend a bunch of energy, time, and money on that, and then somebody who was instrumental in our team on that leaves. And then it's like, well, that's okay because there's a new one. The new person wants this newer thing anyway, And so when I look back on all of these things, I'm like, I don't need any new systems or new technologies. And now, again, I'm wrong and I'm a dinosaur. But in my mind, I'm like, I just don't have the capacity to keep doing all these things. So, and I can't hire an entire cybersecurity or IT team. East End Food Co-op in Pittsburgh is so lucky to have a 20 plus year IT manager that knows all of this stuff and built a lot of these systems. And when that person someday hopefully never leaves East End, it's going to go back to square one of all of these things, you know? And so that's, to me, it's like continuity, succession, and capacity on an individual store basis. You know, it's like each co-op doesn't have the ability to do that, you know? And working with NCG, if you're an NCG co-op or an infra co-op, I don't know what infra has specifically, but, you know, they're working on things like common charts of accounts and, you know, other shared systems that no co-op has to reinvent the wheel. But it takes a lot of time and energy for each store to even adopt that. And, you know, we started the CRM process and the common chart of accounts, you know, thing with them like 2 years ago, and it's not done, you know? So it's like, and then in a year, there'll probably be something different. And it'll be like, why did we do any of it? I just want to sell groceries. Like, give me the ticker tape and a change bag, you know, like that's what we have the capacity for when you're open 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long, you know?
Woo. All right, Tyler taking GMs to church. I want my price gun back. Aaron, you had something to add to this conversation. Do you have a success to tell us about, or also frustrations with how the successes are short-lived?
You know, oddly enough, while I was trying to find the raise hand button, I was thinking I was going to take a totally different approach, but I am along the same lines as Tyler here. The question of, you know, what tech fell short of expectations. Really, my experiences with that is the time, energy, and capacity and skill sets to utilize tech that we have had available to us. And that really, if I'm being completely honest, has been a challenge for us and the ultimate challenge for us. And then also to build off that on some common themes that have come up already in this conversation from other folks. Even if we did implement tech that could be beneficial and we did take the time to learn, and I feel the more robust the system, the more exciting, but also the more challenging to take the time to learn it, to actually implement and experience the benefit of it. But then that additional layer of having clearly documented systems that can sustain succession. So even if we do meet that first goal, the risk is still imminent with turnover that we're able to maintain and utilize the efficiency of tech. And so, yeah, I vote for a pricing gun, but, you know, in all honesty, am also very open to how, you know, we've identified a challenge that we're not the only ones. And so what is the answer there? But yeah, so just, you know, I don't have a success story, but I just want to be transparent and vulnerable and honest about some of the challenges that we've had as well.
So I heard chasing efficiencies is part of the game. It's hard to find a system that feels stable because it's never quite solving the problems you're hoping it solves. That's effectively what I just heard.
And also, I think part of the challenge is like the more robust and the more sort of exciting the system is, the more challenging it is to have the people, skill set, power, and succession planning for that to continue to be successful. Yeah.
So more robust systems take more learning and take more discipline and standards, which are difficult to attain with the kinds of sort of skill sets and people that you may have available to you.
Yes.
I would say too, so in our experience dealing with many cooperatives and younger organizations, what we try to do is learn the skill sets of the team and build based on that skill set. And what works functionally, visually for that team. Some folks are experts, quick techies, you know, they can use all kinds of complicated systems. But if you're like my wife, she's going to get confused if you have too many screens and too many boxes, and she's going to get mad. Okay. And so what that means is we try to simplify the system and really plan it out in sort of a human way, okay, of what type of team that you have. And that's what's had us successful. in building our systems, custom systems. More people are leaning towards, compilations of systems. So they don't have to go to many different places. Oh, I have to use this and I have to use this screen. And so, but yeah, I understand that is a challenge. But when you plan it all out in the beginning, and you have a team that can guide you along properly, I guess that's where the experience can change into a turnkey experience for you, where you can then have trust in place between you and that team to build such a quality experience for your organization. I think that's where you can do that. And while you're building, guess what? You can also build the training
Yeah.
manuals. It doesn't make sense to build without building the instructions on how to use something. I think that's one of the things that Rickie specializes on,
Yep.
creating good visuals and also the training behind it. So it's simple, and it becomes a part of, so we build a lot of LMSs for a lot of organizations because they didn't realize that, oh, we have to train our people as they go. So we give them that tool automatically, and we put the video libraries in there for them to access it. But we also put a reward system in place so that they can, get, I guess, get incentive for that organization to be able to learn. So those are some ways you can get people to learn and stuff like that.
I want to hear
And
what you wanted to share, Sam, real quick, because we're going to not have enough time for our last question, which I think is a very rich one. So we're going to take your comment on this one, and then we're going to move to our last topic.
Oh, it was just brief. It was the same. I appreciate what was shared. I was just gonna say for us, because of the issues that were raised by Tyler and Aaron, and then what you're speaking with the Novaworks supports, is I'd say the win is that we've chosen systems that a lot of people use. There is some benefit in that. And while they might be more complex systems that do take all the things that you're talking about, like having somebody who can write the documentation, do the training, and that's amazing. I think that's an awesome thing that you all can provide. You can like fill that gap for organizations that don't have the internal capacity. That's been our main win is that yes, we have some clunky systems that we all think have issues, right? Like Catapult, not all the yays, some of the yays, some of the wins, whatever. But like it's a system that's used by so many people and people in our region and people nearby that's like, can you phone a friend about this system? So could I call a larger co-op that has a full IT team? Can they help me? Yes. Can I call somebody about a system that I thought was really cool and has really cool features and nobody else uses? No, I can't phone a friend with that one, right? So I would say that just like it ties in with what other folks were talking about. So we don't have any system that we're like, we love every part of it, but we do have systems that we can reach out and get support on pretty easily. Yeah.
I'm going to take us to our next topic, but don't lose the thought, Aaron, because I have a funny feeling if people are having enough time, good time talking, we'll continue past the hour. But I want to make sure we would get to all four topics we promised people. And this one was maybe it won't be tonight, but it was a hot one in some of our previous sessions. So, as I said, a hot topic throughout all the sessions was digital culture, the need for well thought out, transparent policies around tech, as well as protocols for preparing for digital crisis, like all of this culture, digital culture and thinking for a minute about your co-op and its digital culture, where do you feel like you are solid and where do you have questions, gaps, and like having policies about how we use tech that, feel like you have a clear digital, not only just how we do things, but values, cultural values, and if they've been thought out about how you guys use tech in your organizations. And this was one it wasn't originally on our question list, but I have gotten so many people emailing me since the last session asking for more opportunity to talk about this. So where where are people at in thinking about having policies around technology and digital and creating kind of a this is where we stand as food co-ops or our co-op stands, kind of digital culture for your organization? Yeah, Aaron.
I think that currently we are pretty fortunate that we do have, sections in our employee handbook that outline our expectations for digital culture. And I think that so far, and I hesitate to like say this out loud, I don't want to jinx it, but so far I think we do pretty well in that area. But if I'm also being honest and transparent and vulnerable, it's probably largely because the majority of our team are not super tech savvy. So I feel like that also creates a little bit of a safety buffer that, but I also recognize that that can be a high risk because without that knowledge base, there's the, potential to veer out of bounds or out of line, but, or out of the lane. But so far, it's been pretty reasonable and not an area, again, yet that we've had to put a lot of effort into, or that I see as a pinch point or a challenge point. That's our current experience, but we're also a very small co-op. So,
Can I just, being a small co-op, you guys, I kind of want to say that you guys are actually in an advantageous spot, right? Um, because again, this is where you have the capacity and the space and opportunity to start learning how to adapt, before things get too hectic. So I understand that, a lot of the team that, might not be too techy, but the good part is you are actually in a really great spot where your core team can really start to implement, small trainings, certain trainings and start kind of thinking security risk before risk even happens, because you guys are under the radar, but it's not impossible for something to happen. So, yeah, I don't want you to think, because we're small and we're not tech savvy, you know, we're not in a great, no, you guys are in a really, really great spot. But also too, this is like the best spot really to start utilizing that information, start learning and building that knowledge, with the team as well, and really create that uh foundational structure that most organizations, once they reach a certain level, it's too late, you know?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah.
I would say I think this is an interesting question. The digital culture, I'd say the weakest points that I've seen, or that are most common that aren't digital backup or aren't your, security keys and things like that. It's the physical on-site or phone access level of like battering ram that can happen. And so I would say our team has a great culture around this person is never available. We don't answer any questions related to because that's a piece to digital culture that maybe we don't talk about enough, which is the frontline training for store managers, for shift leads, for anyone who answers the phone, anyone who deals with people coming into the store to have access to technology. We've dealt with there was a whole period where somebody, not hard to do, but somebody figured out how to spoof the ECRS customer care phone number and was trying to call co-ops and get access to people's systems, right? So like that level of things. So I would say that's something that thankfully we have a team that is aware of that, and while we have that energy, we've tried to use that to write up those kinds of things, because that's one of the things. It's like we could think of all the ways to be digitally savvy, and like do we have good firewalls, and do we have good security protocols with our, all of our financial systems, and do we have a good password security system that we use and all that. And then somebody could just walk in and drop something on your credit card processor, and then you're, immediately like it's wiped out all of that good work that you've done. So that's a piece to it that I think the team does well, and I hope continues, but that's the hope is like in writing. The hope is in the planning and the training and the development. Yeah.
I don't want to miss out on this comment from Dr. Angela in the chat, and I won't make her unmute. I can tell them, but it's a really good question. And Dr. Angela is actually one of our facilitators for our startup food co-op organizing groups. So she works with startups all the time, and she's like, when should they start thinking about digital culture. Like they have very little money. They're fundraising for a store they hope to open someday, but they're collecting ownership dollars, like here's my $200 investment and information about owners and community. Like I just think it's a very good, when would you have people start thinking about digital culture? Anyone from Digico or Novaworks? If
Now.
they're not even open. Okay.
Yes, now, right away.
Literally
Yeah.
now. And again, the reason why, as I was saying before, to Aaron and whoever else, the sooner the better, you know? Um, and that was my whole point. It's a really great spot for if you are a young co-op or a small co-op, to just start planning now. Start preparing the steps. And if you don't know where to go, I mean, uh now you can utilize us. We're a resource now, so you can ask us these questions. We can help you prep and get those plans and actions of, how big is your organization, where are you guys at, as far as your overall goal, the goal now, and what should you be doing now, and so that's where, do not wait. You don't have to be at a certain size. You don't have to have a certain amount of, people attached to your organization. You don't have to have a super large budget. We can start this thing now.
I
I'm going
just
to
want to
piggyback.
echo. Go ahead, Ahzjah.
Yeah, just a lot of the smaller co-ops are working, whether they're food co-ops or not, but I'm thinking of food co-ops specifically. Again, I would just piggyback what Rickie said. We're starting now, we're starting from scratch. The two things that we add in are the education, the co-op education, because a lot of times people have the ideas and they're ready to go and start the business. And we're like, no, you have to integrate the co-op education. So you really understand what it is you're becoming a part of, the collective decision making. It's a whole different way of moving and serving and working, right? And so the digital aspect does the same thing. It's a whole different way of mirroring your brick and mortar. And so we try to have people think about whatever the operation is, or the department, or the topic, that they're thinking about both. They're thinking about their brick and mortar, the logistics, what's going to happen there, the workflow, the customer journey, the member journey. And then we also think about on the digital side, what's that going to be? Your marketing in the store, you're handing out, you're canvassing. What is the digital side going to look like? So we're always mirroring that and sort of integrating it in a subtle way sometimes, and an aggressive way in other times, because there's other areas that you can really leverage the digital technology to help your startup process, whether it's your outreach or your member drive and those sorts of things. And then we're introducing a lot of folks to CRM. Some folks have never heard of that, or the learning management systems or project management systems. And those that want AI, the aspects that they can use to leverage as well. And the ones that don't, and they're really concerned about data, we're customizing with them as well. So I think what I really love is that we get to create this, and I think that we're the ones who can create. No one else can create this for us. We have to create this for ourselves because we're so unique and different. And so it has to come from us. And so we integrate it as early as possible.
That's a phenomenal wrap up to the main recording here. Like, wow. And I think I would want to add that it's absolutely true. FCA has not seen a lot of startups find a really good solution to this yet. So it's part of why we were so excited when we met Ahzjah and Johnny and Rickie, because we're like, startups keep asking. And then what we find out happens is they've built really messy systems. We got a little bit of messed up QuickBooks over here, and we've got a spreadsheet over here. And then they get to try to open a store. And some GMs literally spends 2-3 months of their life trying to clean up whatever the heck is the mess that has been made. And we know it's possible to build these systems so they're easily upgradable to, like, okay, now we're at this stage, and we're ready to have real financial records, and we're ready to have a CRM. We could use a CRM before we get to even to the store stage, but no one has really, we haven't found anyone who can really help people integrate that whole concept, and we understand a startup pull it off. So I just want to echo again how grateful we are, because we need to wrap up. If you want to stay and talk, you can do that for a few minutes after this, but we're going to wrap the video. That's why we were so excited and so grateful to Digico and to Novaworks to coming and having this conversation. I have been listening to startups beg for this conversation for a decade now about how do we create systems that can level up. And then established co-op said, no, we want in on this convo too. We've got things we want to talk about as well. So thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this. And I do want to let you know we'll send out the links to the recordings to those of you who have registered for any of these. We'll also be sending all the contact information for Novaworks and for Digico if you want to continue the conversation with them. So you will get both those things in your email tomorrow. Any final thoughts you want to share, Ahzjah, Johnny, Rickie?
Well,
Go ahead.
Just to thank you, just an appreciation and thank you for everyone being here and FCI and JQ and the team for taking the time out to do this. It's so critical and there's so much happening and so much work we have to do, heads down, keeping the stores open. And it's hard to stop and do these things. But I just really want to commend y'all from taking the time to do this. And we're excited to support in any way that we can, keep the conversations going and let's build something, y'all.
I was going to say, never give up.
Never give up. Yeah.
Maybe this time we'll find the solutions to this to this challenge, at least for startups. Okay, well, thank y'all. I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. This has been FCI, Food Co-op Initiative, Digico Global, and Novaworks Corporation. And thank you for being with